When Winston Churchill was asked to cut art funds in favor of the war, he replied, "Then what are we fighting for?" Welcome to Isra-Drama in a special wartime online edition, showcasing a hand-picked collection of the best of Israeli theatre. Those of you that have been to Israel know that here 9 million Jews, Muslims and Christians live together in the only democratic state in the Middle East and seek to live in peace. I'm here this evening with Mr. Noam Semel, former CEO of 3 major Israeli theatres, Habima National Theatre, the Camry Theatre of Tel Aviv, and Haifa Municipal Theatre. Noam is also the reason we're all here, because he's the initiator and chair of the Institute for Israeli Drama in the memory of Hanoch Levin.
And I'm here with my colleague, Hadar Galron, international playwright, director, and actress. Hadar, did you realize we are broadcasting from a public library in a building called Migdal Shalom, which means Tower of Peace?
Right. Peace that we're praying for in the midst of this heart-wrenching war that began with a huge and brutal terrorist attack on civilians on October the 7th.
This online edition of IsraDrama was produced by the Hanoch Levin Institute of Israeli Drama with the support of the Ministry of Culture and Sport and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in conjunction with the municipality of Tel Aviv-Jaffa.
If I say times are tough, it would be an understatement.
A shred of hope in these times is the great spirit of volunteering we see everywhere. Right. Since the attack of October 7th, Israeli citizens have left their daily duties and are devoting every moment of their waking hours to helping our society recover from one of its biggest traumas.
Yes, and theatre artists too, and performers, thousands and thousands of singers and dancers, comedians, bands.
And the writers and poets.
And performing in places that are hosting survivors and hosting those evacuated from their homes, trying to somehow ease the pain, enable moments of light, of escapism in their temporary homes.
Alongside these efforts, the big institutions of the Israeli theatre have joined in. One of them is Habima, Israel's national theatre. Here with us today is Moshe Kepten, artistic director of Habima. Hello, Moshe. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Shalom.
Unfortunately, maybe the 7 years you've been head artistic director of the Habima National Theatre have been very trying. You've had COVID-19, you've had a lot of political unrest, there were demonstrations, protests, but this war is somehow different, no?
Yeah, it is different. I think that we share together the COVID conflict.
You have to explain that I was that
time
director general to save Habima.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had to think out of the box and to create some other ideas of how you do theater without audience. But this war is different because it reflects a very different society climate. It's, I think that the atmosphere is very different. You have to handle the fact that will the audience want to come back to the theater? What would they want to see in the theater?
For 8 weeks, the theatres were closed.
Well, it was closed, of course. First, it was closed. And
Totally
closed.
Yeah.
How did the audience return? What do you feel?
We had to decide first that we are opening the theater, that we have to go back to a routine, a different routine, not the routine, because we will never get to a routine before the hostages will get back to Israel. So we opened the theater. We have decided of
But
some...
you have some restrictions.
Yes.
From the
Absolutely.
IDF.
We have to open the theater only for 540 seats in the biggest venue at Rovina Hall, and then 300 at the other venue and 200 at the third venue. Altogether, 1,000 people in an evening. Not more than that. No.
So normally more than 2,000
yes.
can
So it's a
come
half.
Yeah.
But you did have an early reaction also in the first stages of the war. There was a reaction of Habima, although it was not inside the theatre. Can you tell us more about?
Yeah. At the first day, we have decided first to go back to rehearsals. So that is something that we had to decide, even though it was very difficult to even think about theater.
And there were sirens every day, everywhere, all around the country.
So every rehearsal started with speaking with the actors and let them showing their emotions. And after that, we had to go back to the practical rehearsals. But somehow we had to even react to what happened. So there was a presentation outside the Habima Theater, at the Habima Square, of the empty beds
Yes.
And we have decided to collaborate with the artists that made this presentation.
How many artists participated in it?
There were 4 artists that made this presentation, and we have decided to add another 150 actors.
150
actors
and actresses?
Yes.
All together?
They were reading to the empty beds that were symbolizing those that were kidnapped.
What did they read?
They had, first we had a few songs that we were sharing with the audience, but I think that the most important moment was when they tried to tell a night story, a lullaby story, to the empty beds.
A bedtime story.
Yes, a bedtime story, and that reflects the fact that they were not there. We were 150 actors and actresses on the square, talking to an empty bed at 8 o'clock at the night time, and that was very, very emotional for everyone.
And the house was closed.
The house was closed. It was
outside
only
the theater.
at the square. Yeah. So we had to think of many things of how to react.
And it was dedicated to the kids, to the kidnapped kids?
Yes.
In the tunnels?
But not only for the kids, for everyone.
Yeah.
Just to let everybody remember that it's 8 o'clock, it's nighttime, and these beds are empty.
And tell me, when the audience did come back, what were they looking for?
It's a big question.
How was the interaction with the audience?
It's a big question. I'm sure that Noam can agree that sometimes you have to follow your stomach.
You're right.
And what we had to deal with is to choose either comedies or dramas or musicals. We had to postpone the music stuff. We started with a few plays. And yesterday night we had the Broadway nights.
Broadway night.
Usually at the end of Broadway nights we sing together L'chaim. You remember
From
that?
Fiddler on the Roof.
From Fiddler on the Roof. But after a conversation with the actors, we have decided to change that and to sing Bring Him Home from Les Mis.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And when Adi was
like
singing
a
at
prayer.
the end, Bring Them Home, the whole audience were crying, and it was very, very moving.
The context completely changes the meaning of the song.
Absolutely. So we had to fit that to reality, but we keep doing theater, which this is very important.
Very important.
What is the difference between Golda?
Wait, this is the play that they were rehearsing even before,
You
right?
rehearsed on the First Lady Golda Meir, a play by Moti Lerner, and you have to compete with the movie, with Helen Mirren. What had happened to you during the time of war?
Do you remember the moment we have decided together to invite that, to ask for this play to be written? As
a commission?
Yes, just to highlight the 50 years to Yom Kippur War.
You have to say 3 months before the war.
Much before
Nobody
the war,
dreamt about the war.
Nobody dreamt. And
that was when you began rehearsing?
Yeah. And then, at the 7th of October, we've just figured out that the text we are reading is so similar to what's happening.
It's not history.
Exactly. It's not in history, it's the present. And it was very difficult even to think of coming back to rehearsals. But we have decided to go ahead. And again, every time we were getting into a scene that was very similar to the reality, we had to stop. We had to talk with actors. Some of them were crying through the rehearsals. It wasn't very easy. Now we have decided,
directed the play too.
Yes.
It's about 1973.
Yeah.
And now we are in 2023.
But
so what's the difference?
You figure out that nothing happened in between those 50 years. We got...
That we're stuck in the same place, catch-22.
Unfortunately. And you know what? The movie was taking care of the war itself. What this play is taking care is about leadership and responsibility, which is something that is absolutely being shared in our reality. In every conversation you have around this war, responsibility and leadership is something that you cannot ignore.
Yes, so really thank you very much, Moshe Kepten, for being with us, and good luck, and great, at least we see that in the theater there is leadership.
טוב, ליל מנוחה וחלום, כבר מאוחר ומחר נקום ונראה איך שמגיע היום בסוף כל לילה. טוב, חושך נפל על הרחוב, רק הירח מאיר את אורו הצהוב. צרצר מצרצר צרצורו שם, לילה טוב, לילה טוב.
Israeli culture, as well as Jewish culture, are vastly infused with grief and pain. Since the beginning of this war, the theatre space has evolved into a realm of artistic representations that transcended the audience, operating within the context of the hostages situation. These works bridge between art and collective pain, mourning, and memory. One of the prominent artists is Michal Rovner, an international artist who excels in photography, video, and architectural installations. She's gained significant local and global recognition and success. Her works have been exhibited at many prestigious institutions, such as the Venice Biennale, the Whitney Museum in New York, and the Louvre in Paris.
Shalom, Michal. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the talk with you. ארץ אחרת, גם אם אדמתי בוערת, רק מילה בעברית חודרת, אלוקה אל נשמתי. I was asked and I was challenged with the notion of a list of all the fallen and the murdered. From the age of 15, I've seen many of these lists of names in ceremonies because my brother Deshe in the army, in the service, and so I know the feeling that you sit by a list of names that is, it's like a roll, and you are always afraid to miss the name, to miss his name, and then I always want to take a picture of the name, and I actually wanted and decided, I thought about it, that it has to be really different this time, and I wanted to give time and place for each of the name. And then I decided that I don't want them to appear in a cut. I didn't want them to move with tuck, a name to name. I also didn't want them to dissolve one to the other. I wanted each one to have some time to be present and then to disappear. And I wanted very much the disappearance and the absence. So I placed the names in a landscape desert landscape, a bit like the landscape in which all this scenery occurred. And between two cypress trees, the cypress, they always symbolize the transition between earth to heaven. But here I thought about them that they stand in the side of each name like guardians, like a guard of honor, witnesses, candles. And they create the movement from here to whatever is beyond.
Michal, many artists at times of stress, at times of war, at times of terror, they're frozen, they can't do anything. You, on the other hand, have been so fruitful. What's the driving force behind your creativity? What is art for you, after all?
Art always is my reaction and my interaction with and my curiosity and my disagreement with reality. So reality is always there anyway, it's a starting point. But I want to take you to this morning. I woke up like all of us at 6 something with sirens, with sounds of bombing. My dogs, who actually woke me up before the sirens, they were shaking, they were howling. The donkeys, my donkeys, I have donkeys, they were crying. And missiles, thousands of missiles were landing towards Israel. And in a very short time, opening the television, we realized that cities and kibbutzim, by a few hours, it was 22 kibbutzim and 2 cities were captured by this terror organization that we are always afraid of, Hamas. And, I was watching this unfolding catastrophe in real time, and I realized that I actually am only 40 minutes away, and they were coming in cars. They could have been already 10 minutes away from me. And when you are thrown into such a drastic, such a totally different, acute reality with urgency, emergency, danger, I have to say that the last thing that I cared about was art, and the last thing I thought about was art. And there's always a question, following the day and the next day and the next day, how do you want to be in the details of this drama reality that has so much to do with your life? Or do you have a wish or ability or even reason to move to another dimension? And what happened is that the third day, on Tuesday, as they decided to open the public library, the National Library, and I drove to Jerusalem, it was dangerous. There were alarms, but there was a very good feeling to install at the entrance the walk broken time. And there was a moment when reality and the walk, they kind of joined. It was really the, in a magical, terribly magical way, the real right walk to present that moment.
Michal, you said something really beautiful about looking for another dimension. So maybe art is another dimension of reality.
Of course it is. It is another dimension, and but there is a wonderful quote of Francis Bacon that I always repeat often. And he said in his book, The Brutality of Fact, he says that the slight remove from reality throw me back onto reality more violently. And I think that's what art does. It kind of takes you to another dimension. It offers you another viewpoint, sometimes something that you wish not to deal with, or it touches some areas of your consciousness, subconscious, that, or deep in the emotion field, that, you're almost willing to look at because it's only art, but then it can really, challenge you or hit you or present you with a strong question.
I would like to ask you another question about your artworks that are monumental. They are displayed in central and national institutions like Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, the new National Library in Jerusalem, and the Hall of Remembrance on Mount Herzl in Jerusalem as well. How does your art shape or reshape memory? You commemorate the memory of the Israelis or the memory of our people. How do you do it?
When I do these memorials, those three memorials, the one in Yad Vashem dedicated to Jewish life in Europe, it was the first chapter of the museum, or the one in Mount Herzl, I am doing something completely different than what I do normally. I normally start with reality, but I erase a lot of details. I take the people out of context, out of specifics. You don't even know if it's a man or a woman. And I always try to get away from narrative and all. In those situations, I put my work, my art aside, my language, my usual strategy, my usual desire, actually to deal with humanity, with the fragility of humanity, whatever. And I'm my aim then is really to do some kind of a restoration. For instance, in Yad Vashem, I took hundreds of pieces of photographs and film, video footage of home movies, etc. And I wanted to connect them together to some kind of a weave or a scroll that would be a coherent landscape. And so it was some kind of like a hyper-realistic restoration of something, and I called it living landscape. And I actually, instead of dealing with the memory is already dealing with a past that is finite. It's kind of static. Yeah. Photography, like any photograph, is already dealing with them. The urge to capture something that already is gone. And instead, I wanted to create living environment, a living landscape that you can see them moving in. And the same with at Mount Herzl. I wanted to remember them before you go in and see all those stones with the names. I wanted to remember them being part of the landscape, moving in the landscape, even if it's for a very short fragment. I wanted really to release them from a pastime and to give them a dimension of life.
Life,
Life and presence in those places, to be present alive in those sites that deal with death.
And now you've taken upon yourself, I think, something that seems almost an impossible task. You're currently collaborating with the Bezalel Academy of Art and Design on a project concerning the kidnapped civilians. And how do you approach this when the story is still unfolding before our eyes? We don't even know where we're heading.
Exactly, because it is it is unfolding in front of our eyes, and we can still do something about it. I wanted to express the urgency of the situation, and I wanted to send a communication out, with their communication, that would be in a universal language, the way most of my work are. And I wanted to get to the work really located, I think, or presents the very basic signal that everyone can read. It's a signal of SOS, like an SOS, notice me, help me, don't forget me. The red color of the body, like the heart, it's like ultrasound, that you can see the heart beating, the heart still beating. Some are not beating, but the heart is still beating. It's the movement, it's an accelerated breath, but also it is a color of urgency. It's the color of danger, like a barcode of alarm.
Thank you, Michal. It was great to host you here.
For a better time.
Yes, we
Amen.
hope. Current crisis joins what appears to be a very turbulent era of global unrest. Refugee waves are filling the world, finding their place also in theatre shows. And joining us today are two prominent Israeli theatre makers, director and playwright Shirili Deshe and director Ariel Wolf. Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom. Shalom. You were both working on plays that showed the status of immigrants and life during wartime, even before the current war began. Shirili wrote and directed, alongside Vitali Friedlander, A View of the Sea, Khan Theater, Jerusalem, and Ariel directed The Lake in Tel Aviv's Tmuna Theater, a play written by Russian intellectual and playwright Mikhail Durnenkov.
Yeah.
Yes, so
the great playwright Hanoch Levin said many years ago when he was alive that there are 3 seasons in Israel: winter, summer, and war.
Oh dear.
What is your opinion?
Yeah, so unfortunately war is always relevant. Shirili, your works have a unique touch. You have a light, physical, even kind of clownish style you take from the world of the clowns, but you always choose to touch very deep and sensitive topics. Explain why you choose this style and genre with these topics. What makes you connect it?
For me, humor and laughter and clowning is the way to reach the hearts of people, and then I can tell them which story I want. And I think that the subjects that we are dealing with, which is refugees and war, are so difficult. And so in order for us to be able to really absorb them, we need first to be loved by the people who are on stage, by the actors and by the story. And then with this love, we can accept something which is quite terrible. In our story, View from the Sea, we start with this very naive refugee who comes from probably a war zone, but with a lot of hope. And he portrayed by Vitali Friedlander, who is my co-creator.
And he himself is a refugee.
He's a refugee.
From Russia?
Well,
he's an immigrant from Belarus.
Belarus.
He immigrated to Israel when he was 6, after a wave of anti-Semitism over there. And he came here. Of course, reality was very difficult for him because Russian kids suffered from bullying and were called stinky Russians. And it was quite tough for him, but the way that I think he saved himself or managed to become what he is now, a clown and an actor, is with his humor. And his humor is what we take to this show. We start with it, with this very lovely, humorous, gentle immigrant that is being dropped into a reality, a brutal reality, and then the war starts. We don't know why, but the war starts.
Yeah, it's amazing. We say in Hebrew, milchama poretzet, war breaks out, war breaks out. Peace never breaks out. Only war breaks out.
Because peace we have to make, and
Yes.
war is just...
But did you perform after the war started? Did you perform
No,
this play? Not yet.
everything
We are
stopped.
interviewing you now, and the theater is closed.
Yes.
Jerusalem Khan Theater is closed.
Started to come back now, and we will come back in 3 weeks. But slowly, people are coming back to the theaters. It's not evident. Still, we are under bombings, and still there are
still
alarms.
sirens and
There are sirens also in the show, which we are going to
oh my goodness,
drop out. We're going
Okay.
to change it to some kind of other sound because people are going to jump from the seats and just run to the safest
shelter.
place. Yes.
Ariel, The Lake is the play that it's about a group of friends who are spending a seemingly normal, pleasant time whilst war is going on somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you feel
Chekhov, semi-idyllic.
Do you feel that somehow life has become this play?
Well, I think it happened a few times in the last for 10 years, I think, for the play. The play was written by Mikhail Durnenkov in 2014, just after Russian occupation of Crimea. And it was, I think, when I talked to him also, it's like a prophecy, because he wrote it like a few years before the war of Europe, of course. And then for me to take this play to Tel Aviv, to Israel, is to take like the image of something that happened, you know, like in Russia, in Europe, and say, okay, we are in time now, because we need to remember the time before October in Israel, it's time that the society is ripped apart. It's like a lightning to the audience to say, okay, you see the lake now and be careful. It's going to happen.
אפשר לשחות באגם שלכם?
באגם? אין לי מושג. אף פעם לא שחיתם שם.
אני מפחדת. אי אפשר לראות את הקרקעית. אולי אפילו אין קרקעית. בור ללא תחתית.
למה את מתחילה שוב פעם? זה אגם רגיל, יש לו קרקעית. פשוט צפים על המים מלא עלים, והמים נראים שחורים, זה בטח לא יותר מ2 מטר עומק. זה מה שאני חושב בכל אופן.
ראיתם מישהו מהמקומיים שוחה?
או שנראה שהם מתרחצים המקומיים. לא לדבר על שוחים.
סנוב. בא לכאן וכולך סנוב.
אני מציאותי, אני לא סנוב.
משום מה, גם המקומיים לא אוהבים לשחות באגם הזה. אולי בגלל כל מיני מחלות, וירוסים.
מה המוצא שלהם? מאיפה הם במקור? כי כשהסתובבתי מקודם אני ראיתי גדר מאוד גבוהה כזאת עם מצלמות אבטחה, והגדר הזו ממשיכה ישר לתוך המים של האגם. אפשר באמת לראות את הבתים של מי שגר שם, זה היה נראה קצת קריפי.
כן, יש שם איזה בתי נופש, לא ברור של מי הם. יש גם דרך מיוחדת שמובילה רק לבתים שלהם, אף פעם לא נסעתי שם. אבל המגרשים כאן לא זולים.
לא יקרים כמו מגרשים של ריזורטים. אבל איזה אוויר?
Where is he now, the writer?
In Finland, he was
in Helsinki.
In Helsinki, fled from Russia to Finland because of his opinions, the anti-war.
He cannot stay there.
He cannot stay there or play his text. So for me, it was to get a contact with him in Finland when he is, immigrated there, fled there because of the war, because of his plays. And I'm talking to him to bring it to Israel, to say something about the life here, and then like a second prophecy.
Yes.
But
Maybe,
I can't
you know,
say
we
it's a
always
prophecy
have-
because we function as people, as artists, always in
in
war,
kind of
in conflict
war
here.
zone.
Yeah, in war zone. So I can't say, okay, something happened that we weren't aware of. But it was very, very close.
But there's always this feeling, I know it for myself also as a creator, that somehow we're dealing with something and all of a sudden it begins to happen.
It's true.
And maybe because we're dealing with it, this happened, maybe you created the war.
That's true, yeah. But I have to say that if before October, when playing The Lake, for me it was to get with love, communication with people, with the audience, to say, okay, be careful, but also there is hope. There is hope because it's a play about people, about connection. So maybe now, when it's not yet playing, but when it's
still in freezing.
Yeah, it's still in freezing, but when it will come back, so I said, okay, maybe action will be sooner. not
Yeah.
just hope.
Did
We
the
need to
playwright
act
or the
now.
writer, the original Russian writer, pay the visit to Israel to see this production in Hebrew? Hebrew, Russian, and
we had a connection on June. He was supposed to come here
in June.
in June to the premiere,
Yeah.
and because of his status in Finland as an immigrant, at the day of the flight, we had ticket. I had a panel like this in the evening. In the morning, he had problems with the immigration,
authorities?
and we did it in Zoom. We did it in Zoom because
So he saw it in Zoom.
So
he saw it, but he was stuck in Finland because of the situation, because of the war.
Your play is multilinguistic. There are many
Yeah.
languages. Each of the
How many
refugees
languages?
is from
For Hebrew,
Hebrew.
Arabic, Russian, and Ukraine.
And you can.
Yeah.
and your play, Shirili, is
No words.
wordless.
Yeah.
How does the textbook look? How do you write a play with no words?
Vitaly and I worked a little bit like cinema or like for television. We wrote what is called the step outline, which is writing a story by writing only the actions, only what people are. He's coming, he's walking, he's taking the mug, he's putting it on the. He's entering, he's going out.
How much is improvised with the actors?
Quite a lot, because this group from the Han group actors are very, very creative. And we gave them the story, and then they filled it with life from their own personalities. And so
it's based on improvisation?
It's based on our story plus improvisations with a lot of music and a lot of objects. Because when you don't have text, you need something. So you need your partners.
It's like the silent cinema, like Charlie Chaplin kind of.
I understand that people will be able, I mean, our participants will be able to watch the whole play.
Without subtitles.
Without subtitles, because there is no language. Ariel, I would like to ask you, the play is multicultural.
Yes.
Each actor has a different origin. There are Russians and Ukrainians, Jews and even a Muslim, Israeli, Arab. How are the dynamics between them all, and has it changed, as it has been changed since October 7th?
Well,
what had happened?
Yeah, I must say, first of all, for me to take the multicultural, for me it was to take the lake and to say, okay, I want to bring here to Tel Aviv, to Israel, and to represent, the society, or the ripped apart, like I said, society in a micro.
Yeah, microcosmos.
Microcosmic, exactly. And for me, the languages, the mother languages, are a part to show it, because the lake is like two narratives. You have the lake.
You have the now.
You have the
and
now,
the
past. Present. It's the how do you say, kurituch.
The melting pot.
The melting pot. They speak only Hebrew.
Yes.
And when they jump to scenes from the
past.
flashback, from the past,
then
they speak the mother language.
Yes.
So for me, it was like the connection. And weird or ironic way for what you ask me. So after October, I felt like the ensemble that I brought last year now has to deal like the people in the lake. They have to recreate the human communication, perhaps. But, well, I can say, of course, we are all artists and friends and people that want art to be a bridge to humanity, for communication.
Ariel, when it will be on stage?
It will be on stage on January, I guess.
January?
I hope so, yeah. It
we
will
hope
come back.
The writer will come from Finland.
I think we'll come back, I hope.
I think that since the beginning, since the 7th of October, when we all went through a huge shock with this terror attack, none of us have had the privilege of not to think of our own ending. Mm-hmm. And your play begins with the question, where would you like to be
the moment the
world ends?
It starts like that.
Yes, yeah. and do you have an answer?
I have more questions, I think. It's funny because this is the sentence that caught me when I read the play, of course, the first time.
Yes, it's a
last year, and now things haven't changed because I don't want to think that the world is here now, the end of the world, but maybe it became...
But maybe the end of the world as we knew it.
Yeah, we need to rethink, we need maybe to act more. Not, the people on the lake are drinking, are dining, are arguing, are playing, but he says in the play...
to take action, you mean?
Take action.
So, where would we like to be? not at the end of the world, at the beginning of the end of this war. Hopefully in the theater.
I'll tell you where.
Yes, tell us.
In my show, we want to be. Like the name of the show, View from the sea. I think we all want like to be in front of the sea, to sit. Like we're looking always, if you go on vacation, then you will always prefer to take the room in the hotel that has the view to the sea. I think I would love to have the view to the sea all my life and just watch and see the horizon and think that something good is good is waiting over there.
Something will happen
us.
there.
Yes, and quiet, and only us and the nature. That will be just lovely.
To connect to ourselves from a different place.
With silence. This is why also we are dealing with silence in my show, because this war that comes all the time upon us and upon all this area that we are living in has become this becomes so unbearable that peace and quiet is what we really wish for.
Thank you, Ariel, and thank you, Shirili. And to you, I will say that the shows A View to the Sea and The Lake are both available on our website until December the 12th, only for registered participants. So please don't forget to register here at the address that appears below on the screen. During the war, numerous acts of civil solidarity took place. In the midst of the challenging situation of the war, there was a need to act, to unite, to stand together. One of the initiatives is a group of 50 creators who joined forces to establish a forum of Arab and Jewish Israeli citizens' solidarity. The forum's hub is the Arab Hebrew Theatre under the artistic direction of Yigal Azarti. We're delighted to host Yigal this evening here to discuss the activities. Shalom, Yigal.
Hello.
Yigal, the Hebrew Arab Theatre is in Jaffa, a multicultural city of Jews and Arabs living together. What is the role of the theatre during the challenging period now that we are facing?
In this times of war, theatre has a great importance of, in a way, showing a wide perspective of reality. And I think artists can lead a change, especially at Jaffa, as you said, it's a mixed city, Jews and Arabs, and we want to show that Jews and Arabs can work together. The theater is a place that you can show that Jews and Arabs can work together, that Arabic is not the language of just of the Hamas, it's a language, a beautiful language, beautiful culture of Arab people all over the world. For example, in the beginning of the war, we did an evening of reading poetry. We put at the entrance of the theater a list of poems from all times, and each one of the audience chose a poem that he likes and read it in front of the audience.
Wow.
Jews and Arabs, and it was really
amazing.
It was in Arabic and in Hebrew?
Arabic and Hebrew, about living in difficult times.
I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you join us, and the world will live as one.
Did you feel there was a change in the dialogue? There was more tension in the dialogue between the Arabs and the Jews?
In the beginning, because the Arabs in Israel are really in impossible conflict, because Arab countries expect them to one thing, and the Israeli society expect them another thing, and they are afraid to talk. They're afraid to speak Arabic. It's amazing that Arab actors come to me and said, we're afraid to speak Arabic because whatever we said will be wrong.
But you have on stage productions in Arabic.
We
And they do performances now.
We perform.
During time
we
of
start
war.
to perform.
They
We
still
perform
play.
even in the COVID time. We were the only theater that perform, because we feel that even
So they
times
do
of
whatever they want to do. I mean, they have an artistic autonomy.
they have an artistic autonomy. They perform in Hebrew and Arabic, sometimes the both languages on stage. It's important the audience will hear that Arabic is a beautiful language.
And you initiated a solidarity forum, especially for these times.
The first week of the war, we said a place that people can meet and talk, and the first meeting was very strong.
Tell us about what kind of people are there in that forum.
Writers.
Who are the Arabs? Who are the Jews? Who are the Christians?
Most of them are art people, because we invited
people from the arts.
People from the art, playwrights, young and old ones, women.
Also actors, composers, dancers.
Everything.
Yeah,
and there are about 50?
Jews and Arabs.
About 50 Jews and Arabs, and they talk really.
And what do they want? What do they say?
First, we did say we don't suggest any solutions. First of all, we want to express ourselves.
To speak.
To see that there is a place that you can say what you feel. Yeah.
Express.
First meeting was all about feeling, not about suggesting what to do.
So Maya Arad Yasur, Israeli and international playwright, wrote a short play, How to Remain a Humanist After a Massacre in 17 Steps. This play, she wrote it as a mother, she wrote it as a woman, and when I read it, I cringed from inside. I really felt that she managed to touch very, very deep pores of me as a mother here in Israel too. And this play has been already produced in Germany, and you're producing it in your theater next month. This month. And then what next? You have a forum of youngsters.
We are now opened a workshop of 4 Arab writers and 4 Jewish writers, and all of them are going to meet for a few...
But it's about the trauma of war?
Yes,
it's
they are talking about the situation now.
It's
and
about,
the idea is
the situation of the war.
That is really of this war, how do they feel? And the idea is to create a play that each one will write a scene of 10 minutes. In the end, we'll have a 80-minute scene, play. And we are going to produce it in Israel and in Germany at the beginning, yes. It's really how young writers, Jews and Arabs, reacting to the current situation.
Yes, this is also, I would say, the only way to look at a future in peace, the only way to look at a future.
Yes, we want to give hope.
And that's also one of the big gestures of art. The generosity of art is its ability to give hope.
But we also do criticism. For example, we have a play now, Shampoo Queen. It's a play by Hanoch Levin, who wrote it in 1970.
A cabaret.
In the Cabaret Theater in 1970, about the situation was after the 67 war. But it's a real criticism about the feeling of materialism in Israel, and we are opening it now again.
Thank you very much for being with us and
Yigal,
bringing some light and some hope.
It was a great pleasure to host you here.
Thank you, Yigal.
Thank you.
Imagine there's no country. If you try.
Whenever I'm asked why the Jewish people have such a great sense of humor, I always answer, humor is a survival kit. There's nothing funny about war, about people dying, and definitely not the horrendous events of October the 7th. And even before was a very turbulent time for the Israeli public. For 9 months preceding the war, since the current government came into power, there were regular protests aimed at opposing its policies. One female clown in Jerusalem took to the streets week after week, dressed as a policewoman named Azulai. Azulai, I must tell you, is a common surname in Israel, but when split into 2 words, Az-Ulai, it also means so maybe. She became the face of the opposition and the chance of healing. Here's a video about her work.
שמי השוטרת אזולאי, שם משפחה יהיה יותר טוב, ממסתרת ישר אל הלב, לשירותך. עד היום היינו ב-128 משמרות. בבקשה, אדוני. איזה מתוקה. בטח. התחלנו את הפעילות שלנו בהפגנות בבלפור, לאחר מכן הגעתי להפגנות של הציבור החרדי בצומת בר אילן, ומתוקף תפקידי הגעתי גם להפגנות במזרח העיר. בעצם אנחנו פועלים במקביל למשטרת ישראל. אני צמודה למשטרה כדי שאם יש הגזמות, אז אני שם לעדן מה שאני יכולה. המטרה של משטרת ישר אל הלב היא לראות מי צריך מאבק, או... את בסדר? בסדר, מה קורה? בואי, בסדר. לנסות להקשיב לאינטואיציה, ללב, איפה להיות, מתי, כדי לתמוך בבן אדם שצריך תמיכה.
תרגיע, נשמה, אנחנו ביחד. תנשום.
אני רוצה לבלבל את כל התבניות, שוטר, חרדי, פלסטיני, חילוני. אנחנו רגילים לספר סיפור שלם על בן אדם לפני ששאלנו אותו שאלה, לפני שהסתכלנו בעיניים שלו.
איפה שיחקת? בבית לסין, איפה שיחקת?
איפה את? את גם אוהבת לשחק? את רוצה לשחק?
לא, אני כבר סיימתי את תקופת המשחק שלי.
מה זה, לא תחבושת?
לא, כרגע זה החיים האמיתיים.
אני גם לבושה מדהים, כמוהם, שכפ"ץ, ופרחים בקנה, ולבטזית, ספרי של אהבה, וקשר אל הלב. אז מי זה מי, ומה התפקיד שלהם, ומי אמיתי? הם אמיתיים? אני למדתי תיאטרון פיזי, אתה עובד במרחב עם הגוף שלך. זה הכלי שיש לי. אני ליצן, וליצן, תפקידו לעבוד עם הלב, להגיד את האמת ולהצחיק. יש לי עלת לב, זה עם אור.
השוטרת אזולאי, ליצנית שוטרת, מגיעה כמעט לכל הפגנה בירושלים, כשהמטרה היא להרגיע את הרוחות, אבל ביום שישי האחרון בשייח ג'ראח דווקא היא נלקחה למעצר ונשארה שם לאורך כל סוף השבוע.
אמרו להתפזר והתחילו רימוני הלם. את יודעת מה זה רימוני הלם? לתוך ההמון. למה? כמה שיותר כוחניות יביאו, אז אני אביא יותר אהבה. ואומרים לי, זה לא ריאלי, זה בסדר. אנשים מגיעים עם שכפ"צים וקסדות ועלות ורובים ורימוני הלם ומכתזיות. אם זה נראה לכם ריאלי, אז תודה רבה. אני עם הריאליות שלכם לא. אני אעשה הפוך ובגדול.
During this war, policewoman Azulai used her talent to support the families of over 200 kidnapped men, women, children and babies who hadn't received any information about their loved ones since the massacre on October the 7th. A month after the kidnappings of those innocent civilians, the policewoman embarked on a special march from Jerusalem to Gaza to raise awareness for the hostages, 40 of them children. Here are some moments from her unique journey which lasted several days.
אדוני, וואו, שלום לך, מה שלומך? כל הכבוד.
Azulai, more than anything, is maybe a reminder that sometimes a heartfelt meeting can change everything for the better.
אנרגיה לכל היום קיבלנו עכשיו.
Theatre of war. I've thought a lot of that expression in the last few weeks. Theatre of war is a military expression that indicates the physical space where conflict or battle is taking place. In Israel, some of you may not be aware, but army is compulsory, which means that in times of war, everyone is called to the battlefield. Writers, artists, actors. I managed to grab a talk with actor Yadin Gelman, one of the lead actors in Death Imprint, a play that's included in this year's Isra-Drama and will be discussed in length at a different session. Yadin is one of the actors who was called to take off his costume and put on his uniform on the 7th of October. Hi, Yadin.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, how was the experience of suddenly being called not only into Army Reserve, but into the battlefield?
Well, before it all started, the experience was it's our responsibility, and it's what we have to do and what we want to do is to leave everything behind and go fight. And after the experience, I think, of course, it was also one of the hardest times of my life, but also one of the most important times of my life, to save families from those atrocities is one of the most important things that I think I've done ever. And it's a weird thing.
You were there, maybe we should say you were there on the 7th of October through the massacre, through the huge pogrom in the kibbutzim near Gaza.
Right, so I was there in 2 kibbutzim, in Kfar Aza and Be'eri, saving hostages, just going house to house and saving hostages. And I feel like it's a weird thing to say that I'm happy I was there, because it's not the correct way to say it, but I think it was an honor to be one of the first ones there, and first responders that were there to save lives.
No, in ancient Roman theatre, there used to be disposable actors, slaves and prisoners that were used as soldiers that needed to be just killed as part of the show. Thank goodness you're back with us, but you were wounded. Would it be too personal to ask you about your injury?
No, that's fine. Yeah, so I was injured. I was mortally injured, so I was in very bad condition. What happened was we were going house to house, saving hostages, and we were there from the morning until nighttime. At about 7 p.m., I was on my way to the next house that had hostages inside. Just a few yards from the door, I got shot from the right side of the house from a window. The bullet went through my finger and cut half my finger off. And then a terrorist took his gun out from point blank and shot me on the left side, on my arm, my shoulder, and my chest. And I was wounded bad.
How's your recovery?
So the recovery it's difficult, and it's very long, and we still don't know exactly what's going to be left after the recovery, what's going to recover fully or partly. We're still in a lot of questions about that, but I am very optimistic. I am very in high energy. I'm here in New York City now, trying to get as many donations as we can, and to be a spokesperson for Israel. So we're doing what we can, and thank God I can travel. So yeah.
You're raising donations for the families that were left homeless, and some of them, half the family were killed. The people from the scene there around the Gaza.
Exactly.
And will you be returning to the stage?
Yeah, I will be returning to the stage. It depends on my recovery. But of course, there will have to be a lot of changes and modifications in the play, but we'll make the changes and we'll do it. Yeah.
And after this life-changing experience of really facing death and seeing this horrible massacre that changed all of our lives, even if we weren't there, how else does this affect you? Does it give you more thoughts about what you want to do in life, or where are you with this?
Yeah, so being in such an extreme situation that you see death in front of your eyes, and then you survive it, and you look back upon it and start reminiscing about everything. So yeah, it definitely puts you in a situation that you have to think about your life, and if you feel like what you're doing in your life is high value, or you see it as something that's high value. And I do believe that art is something that we need to put at the top of our priorities. I do think that theater and arts in general is our only way outside of these dark times. I think art can shine a light and can speak about things in different ways that we can't just talk about in a regular conversation, that you can bring to the stage or bring to the screen. In ways that are very real and very authentic and very vulnerable, and ways that we can't just have a regular conversation in. And I think that's the way to shine light on these dark times and really past them and into a better world.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Yadin. And Chanukah Sameach.
Yeah, Chanukah Sameach.
We're coming to the end of this first session of the Isra-Drama Online Wartime Edition. And we hope that we've added a few insights about the role of theater in times of crisis and times of war. You know, in the dark winter, there is a Jewish holiday called Hanukkah, the holiday of lights. It's celebrated for 8 days and 8 nights because of a small jug of oil that was supposed to last 1 day and lasted in the end 8 days. Tonight is the second night of Hanukkah, and so we'll light the Hanukkah candles here with you. Do you want to light the candles?
No, you will light it.
Okay.
And I will say amen.
Okay.
Okay.
We believe in miracles, you know.
Yeah.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, וציוונו להדליק נר של חנוכה. אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשה ניסים לאבותינו, בימים ההם בזמן הזה.
Amen. We will conclude our Isra-Drama 2023 with a song by the songwriter and singer Yael Deckelbaum. What's the name of the song?
A Mother's Prayer.
Oh, it's suitable to you.
Yes, it's for our prayer, of all of our prayers for peace,
Let's
for love.
pray together. The whole world is praying together for peace.
Thank you, Noam.
Thank you, Hadar.
And thank you, too, for watching us and for being with us. We remind you that the special plays that were chosen for this year's Isra-Drama are available for those who registered. Peace and love.
רכישת רוח ים מנשבת מאשם וכביסה מתנפנפת לצילי החומה בין الأرض والسماء ناس كتير بعيشوا سوا ما تخافوا تحلموا بالسلام والأمان متى يمسوا خمات הפחד ושבתי מגלותי Neath the soft morning sun, a mother's work is never done as she sends her child to school to the sound of blazing guns. עוד ימסו חומת הפחד ושם
the prayer of the mothers. Bring us peace, bring us peace. From the north to the south, from the west to the east, hear the prayer of the mothers. Bring us peace, bring us peace. From the north to the south, from the west to the east, hear the prayer of the mothers. Bring us peace, bring us peace. Hear the prayer of the mothers. Bring us peace, bring us peace. Bring us